a lithograph. He wanted everybody to be able to buy a lithograph, in full knowledge that not everyone, in fact, most people could never go and buy an oil painting. It's too expensive. But most people, if they're a little bit careful and put a few dollars by, could buy a lithograph. And that was his dearest wish, to see a lithograph in everybody's house. Not as an expression of his own ego, but as a way of providing people for an opportunity to have original art instead of something that was not original. It might even cost more than a print, but would not be an original work of art as a print was, specifically a lithograph.
I think we're just about at the right time for ending things, but maybe people have thoughts or questions or comments.
Nancy?
I think a great source for Bates is his sense of social justice. And so in the 30s, for instance, in London, England, he saw German expressionist works of art and read about them, participated in the 1937 Artists International Association exhibition, which is anti-Franco and the Spanish. And then, his 5 years as a prisoner of war, when he is actually a laborer 7 days a week, and using his feet, using his hands. I mean, he certainly knew the power and the importance of hands and feet. And he actually was Snow's teacher from 47 to 49, like 2 winters at the future Alberta College of Art and Design. So Snow actually says that Bates taught him the importance of credible feet and credible hands.
Yes, that's exactly.
So,
Important, thank you. That is a very important thing to bring in.
It's just, his sense of social justice. He was just simply outstanding as a person, as an international person, I think. And I didn't know Max Bates, and Helen, you did.
Yes.
So can you tell us about what your...
Well, you just mentioned many thoughts, of course, come around my mind, but you mentioned about his making editions. And so many printmakers set out 50 sheets and they expect 50 prints, or they have 10 that will be discarded and they have a certain number of editions. And they must all be, each one must be perfect. But John was not like that. He would run out of a color and then he would mix another and proceed ahead in his very casual way. Or if there was a flaw in the print, something on the press or on the stone that made a mark, and he said, well, that's interesting. And he would work with that. And it's his method of using printmaking was very unlike most printmakers and how you're taught to do prints at the art department here, because you must turn out perfect prints. But he was so flexible in everything he did like that. He would incorporate with his pieces of material or something that just happened to be at hand. He would say, well, we'll roll this up and see how
The happy accident.
what this happens, this piece of curtain with the texture.
Yes, yes.
And if it didn't, it was fine, and he might keep 1 or 2 to remember and then proceed on and try something else. But he just kept the prints moving. But that was partly also because of his great skill with the press and his, in spite of working in his basement, which was dingy and dark, and well, contrary to most people's basements today, he had everything perfect all the time, everything cleanly, like set out things, paper was perfect, and on. I mean, he aimed to do that, but it didn't bother him at all if things didn't work out. He just added more color.
Yeah, thank you. I think that...
Very casual working method.
But a very formal, well-maintained structure of things.
He has a structure,
So
totally under command.
Yeah.
Very, very kind and generous person.
That's a very relevant point to make. Yes, John Snow is famous for being a kind, generous, supportive member of the arts community. I must have interviewed 50 people for my book, every single soul went out of their way to say what a good friend he was, what a good colleague, how selfless he was in sharing his talents, information, resources with young unknown artists as well as other members of the community. He supported music, drama, visual arts.
Especially when he had his work and his family as well,
Yeah.
and he gave them a great deal of time. And so the time he really had for print, seemed to be limited, but he was so efficient at the use of that.
Yes.
And he made the most of it. He had no excuses for not
worked at the-
turning out sort of prints.
He worked at the Royal Bank as a loans officer, which sounds very uncreative until you really read about how Snow went about things. It becomes more interesting. But he was very much a banker in his day job, but very much an artist after 5. Yeah, Nancy. please.
And just the creative aspect of the house, the Snow House continues, and
Good point.
it's thanks to Helen. Helen had this idea that, well, maybe the Snow's house could become some creative, like a writer's, the Flanagan Market
Yeah.
residency now occurs at a Snow House, but it was Helen's idea.
That's the continuity of the
Exactly.
of the little Camelot, where people know each other and respect each other and enjoy each other's creative talents and feel somehow connected to their own community. That the fate of the community is their fate, and so this is something I think a lot of people in Calgary are working toward at the moment. Actually, everybody talking to everybody, and everybody supporting the arts together and sharing resources and ideas. Maybe even the art secret.
Elizabeth, thank you so very much. That was just very, very nice. Just great to hear about these two magnificent Calgary creators, but also to hear your vision and see through your eyes their works here. We really appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for harnessing in the dog teeth. Pleasure. Thanks. And thanks, Helen, for your comments. It's just great.
All the time.
Oh, did you?
Oh, it was a highlight.